Welcome everybody to the Dave Knows Comics live stream. I'm your host David Lee, and today we are going into the comic book world for a special edition of a little something that happened in the comics. Spoiler warnings coming up. Trying to be a little vague while I let everybody get onto the channel and get your time in, because just know that there is definitely going to be spoilers about a certain issue that has come out recently. Want to discuss that kind of thing because a lot of you guys, hey, what's going on, Ben Espinoza? What's up, Kendall Taylor, aka Taylor Made? Hey, Mark Strike, what's going on? So, in the comic book world, there's something that has happened this week. This was not going to be the focus of today's episode. I almost made this a critical mass, but I felt that going into the main comic book, since we're going to have more of a discussion about it than normal, might have been the way to go. Dakari Garmin knows exactly what's up. J.J. Abrams, he knows exactly. I was also weirded out, or not weirded out, but unsure about what to name this video because it's kind of hard to let you know without any kind of spoilers. Hey, Rather Reflex, what is going on? Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you yet. It's just, dude, I've been super, super busy, man. It's been a lot of swampness happened, but good to see you here. Let's see what else is going on. Okay, so spoiler warnings. Thank you for the 2 thumbs up right away. I very much appreciate it. So yes, I almost thought this should have been a critical mass because I do want to discuss the context of this, but just decided to make it an episode of the regular comic book show for today instead of a critical mass. But just know it's going to be pretty similar, leading into heavy territory. So right now, if you are looking to avoid J.J. Abrams' new Spider-Man #1 book that has come out, if you're looking to avoid that kind of thing, let me know. Or unfortunately, gotta let you know that there is going to be spoilers for that right now, as there is something that happened in that book. Now, some of you may or may not know or care, but J.J. Abrams, the director J.J. Abrams, and his son have written a new book, comic book, Spider-Man #1, in comic book form, which I think is really cool. So I'll start by saying that I think it's really awesome that we have more identifiable people out there writing comic books, being in the comic book world, stuff like that. So as you can see, we got this right there, Spider-Man #1 issue from J.J. Abrams. Now, I think it's kind of cool that we have this. It's interesting that we're getting more people because comic book sales are not doing as well as they used to. I think maybe some would say that this is just a chance to drum up publicity or something like that. And yeah, maybe it is. But is it working? Especially since I do like J.J. Abrams' work, a lot of his work. I'm a big fan of a lot of the things he's done. Not everything, mind you, but there are a lot of things that he's done that I very much appreciated. And so when we have this, where do we go from here? Is this Spider-Man #1 I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? Do you guys like, hey, what's up, Vinny Montana? J.J. Abrams versus Sony. Oh, another comment. Okay, so how do you guys feel about this? Is it something that you like? Dave, thoughts on Horror to the Cowl comic? What? Dave, thoughts on Horror? Hair to the Cowl. I'm not sure what you mean, Vinny Montana. So apparently I don't have any. All right, so how do you guys feel about this? Let me know while we're discussing things. Okay, moving back on. So now that, again, hair to the cowl, I have no opinions. So moving on, when it comes to this J.J. Abrams books, now your spoiler warning has been in effect. I'm just going to let you know. You might have been able to figure it. Oh, right here. True Sinners. Hey, Dave, I'm at Target right now to see if they have the new mini Sega Genesis. Cool. I hope they do for your sake. If you want one. If you're just checking to see if they're in stock but don't have any intent on purchasing them, then okay, well, then there's that too. All right, so anyway, spoiler warning for Spider-Man #1. In this book, J.J. Abrams did something pretty surprising, and some of you might have guessed it already, but in case you didn't, he killed Mary Jane Watson. Yep, just like that. Mary Jane, gone bye-byes. Now, this comes at several expenses, several costs, several expenses. #1 is, since the Brand New Day, or after one more day that led into Brand New Day, Mary Jane and Peter Parker have been separated. And now, recently, as Dan Slott left the book, Amazing Spider-Man, as he actually left after being on the book for like 10 years, he kind of finally been gave in to what he's been teasing, and that's Mary Jane and Peter Parker getting back together. So now they're finally back together, and which is cool, but JJ goes ahead and kills her off. So a lot of people are upset. Oh, Harry Flynn, Spider-Man could be back in the MCU. Thoughts? I hope so, and I can't wait. Make it official already. Stop screwing around. Just put it in. I could have worded that better. Peace to you, Muhammad. So, hey, thank you for everybody in here. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, again, we're spoiling Spider-Man #1 by J.J. Abrams and his son, Henry Abrams. I don't know why. So, just letting you know. So, he kills her off in the first issue. Now, a lot of you might be going, what? What's crazy about this? Well, here's the thing, though. Well, it's gruesome, and I'm not trying to say that it's not. This is not in main continuity. At least it doesn't appear to be. It might be, but it doesn't seem like it is. And here's why. There are several things going into this that start talking about why it probably isn't main continuity. Number one is that in this issue, there's several things that happen. There's a major time jump that happens after Mary Jane's gone, and then we go into we see that Peter has a son with Mary Jane, who's like a teenager at this point, because it jumps years in advance. So this lets us know that she already had the child. As far as Amazing Spider-Man comic books go, in recent runs, there's been no evidence whatsoever that Mary Jane had a child with Peter that they already know about. So it didn't jump forward, and so there's no way she could have given birth to the kid after the fact, so she must have already given the kid. So that's number one thing that we see. So that's number one difference that we see, is that this is very clearly in an alternate continuity. So this is just their own thing. It's not necessarily part of the main continuity. It's just its own story. So Mark Strike says Mary Jane is not my lover. She is just a girl who thinks. Not bad, Mary Jane. Okay, I get the joke now. Robert Reflex, but the kid is not my son. Wow, nice. I'm also so out of reading Marvel Comics. Don't care anymore, only DC. Yeah, I will say that Spider-Man, Marvel Comics as a whole, there are some gems, but recently they have been really dropping the ball, and there's been a lot of things that I've been and for a good long time. Like, there's a period, it goes back and forth, but in recent years, DC has been doing very well in the comic book form, and Marvel has not really done anything I've cared about in a very long time in the comic books, which is sad. Movie-wise, it's complete opposite, but comic book-wise, DC's got the game right now. Okay, sounds like a different world to me. Yeah, and that's what it is. It really, really is. Is a very different world. But we do have some more controversy when it comes to this comic book now. So it is outside continuity, and while a lot of fans are kind of upset saying that we finally got Mary Jane and Peter back together, people want to see this like the couple of MJ and Peter. There are also some who feel that even if this isn't continuity, it's kind of rough introducing this when we know where things are. When we finally got a little bit of happiness for this couple, we're going to get some tragedy too for seemingly unnecessary reasons. So, excuse me while I move these things around. I actually planned to have these images on the screen earlier, but I forgot to load them in. I'm so excited to get on a live stream, I kind of forgot about the B-roll I was going to throw in there. So, all right, so some fans are not all that happy with this, even if it's not main continuity. The other issue that people are having is, and Harry Flynn, hey, what is going on? Immortal Hulk is a gem. Yes, and Immortal Hulk and the Thing fight, disturbing. Very disturbing. We can talk about that a little bit later if you want. Doomsday Clock series. Truth be told, with the Doomsday Clock, I was so aggravated how long they've been dragging this out for. I'm kind of waiting for them to just wrap it all up before I get into it. Because, it just took way too long. Like, they've been just dragging their feet on this forever. Then only got 10 minutes. All right, so maybe we're going to be free of Arthur Pryor for the wrestling chat that's coming up later. Left wrestling stream, Apex Legs. Dave, Tom Welling. Yes, Tom Welling is confirmed. We'll take a quick side note before we get into the next issue of the Mary Jane story, because I was going to talk about this today. I really, really wanted to make the focus about Tom Welling. From Smallville, now going to be has been next announced to be in Infinite Crisis, reprising his role as Superman. But this became the thing instead. But yes, so he's going to be returning as Clark Kent on the Crisis on Infinite Earths TV show. Okay, so heard about Tom Welling? Yes, I did. All right. Wait, taken out of the MCU and now his girlfriend is. Yeah, see, and that Mark Strike would be the next issue. Uh, that would, or the next, no pun intended, but the next thing that people are talking about is that with Spider-Man now out of the MCU, and perhaps Harry Flynn has just mentioned that there's a chance he might be back. But either way, with Spider-Man now out of the MCU, let's remember the last time before he was in the MCU, Spider-Man went through the ringer, just like X-Men comic books were notoriously not the best before recently. They've been hit or miss, or they've been given a lot of heavy mandates. X-Men was, while not criticizing the work per se, there were a lot of rules and restrictions placed on X-Men that kind of made it difficult to have X-Men around in the comic book form when they weren't a part of the MCU. Now, X-Men is arguably at their best, and it's right after the Fox deal is complete. And a lot of people are saying this isn't coincidence. But let's remember before when the Superior Spider-Man run happened. Now, some people like this. I hated it. I thought it was terrible. There were a lot of things going on with Spider-Man that were not great. And rumor has it, people were saying that Disney wanted to tank the character in the comic books, thinking it was going to reflect how sales for the movie was going to go, lowering movie ticket sales and stories. That way they can pick up the pieces. Or some people just said, well, hey, if they're going to rip off from the comic books, let's not rip off from us. Let's give them bad stories that if they adapt, no one's going to care about, or let's just give them, or they're not going to bother adapting in the first place. So that's what some people say. But regardless, it's an interesting coincidence now that Spider-Man is out of the MCU, this happens. Especially since his in-continuity girlfriend, MJ, in the MCU, is a Mary Jane equivalent, as we see. So some people think this is a pretty interesting coincidence. True Sinister says, does it bother you how everyone loves comic books, but very few people actually read comic books? It does to a degree, but I understand it. They've really priced themselves out on the market. It's not feasible to get as many comic books as you want to read. It's harder to get a hold of them. Yes, there is digital. Digital's not the same. I myself, big subscribe was. I typically endorse. It's hard. I don't endorse it for everyone, but I typically endorse getting subscriptions where they get mailed to you. Because they are, well, Marvel, DC not so much, but Marvel is, for the most part, if you do that, it's significantly cheaper to do. They come to your door. You don't get it right away, which is the downside. So unfortunately, you gotta back off, and you can't just peruse and pick one up. But you pay like. I remember it was like $21 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, for a year's worth of Amazing Spider-Man. And there are certain books that I consistently know I want, like Amazing Spider-Man for sure, Deadpool for sure. There are things that I knew I consistently wanted. And once my subscription is up for something, I reevaluate. But there's also an auto-renew program or miniseries that you can have. So, but the downside is it doesn't get to your house right away, which would be nice if it did. But that price point, like $20 for a year, or like even $25 for a year, or whatever, it's more than reasonable for me. Like for 12 issues, I have no problem with that. But it does bother me. But there's a lot of things that the comic book industry needs to adapt to, really needs to change in order to make themselves relevant. Because comic books are good, it's great, and more people should read them, but they need to be more accessible. And digital just doesn't count. I'm sorry. And there's also no incentive for going digital either, because it doesn't feel the same. It's not the same. It's not as easy to read. But digital format is not, I don't think, is done right. It should be significantly less expensive if you get digital, because putting it out there in digital platform costs almost nothing. So they should really lower the price point if they're wanting to put things digital. I know they have some issues with Diamond Distributors, which is the comic book distribution company, or certain things calling them now. But to keep the side note down, really, like, if you get digital format, like, a panel should just fill up the entire screen. Like, if I'm looking on my laptop, it should be an entire screen of panel, and then move on, instead of me scrolling and moving around this page of panels. But anyway, there's a lot of things they could do. But, well, Superman has typically always won against the Hulk, Harry Flynn. That was money. Sorry, Arthur. Okay, thinking about doing a graphic novel called The Hulk Beyond. What if the Hulk on the ship? That's an interesting idea, rather reflex. Harry Flynn, so games. What I meant, new movies, Batman. Okay, we're gonna talk about Spider-Man. All right. Let's get back. Year of the Villain. Lex is well. Lex is like my favorite character of all time. So there you go. Nice check. Oh, thank you. So yeah, back to the Mary Jane thing. Sorry. All right. So that's one thing is people think that there is possibly a tanking of Spider-Man going to happen again in the comic book form until this MCU Sony deal is relieved. And if it's never relieved, they're just going to keep on tanking them with the comic books. All right, Dave, what's your favorite movie you're looking forward to? Part of me wants to say Shang-Chi at a general principle, but I am really curious about the new Doctor Strange, the multiverse, because I just want to know what's going to happen in it. But as well as Black Panther 2, because I want to see how they follow that up. How it's hard to say at this point because I don't really know enough about any of the upcoming movies. There's not enough has been revealed. How would your own comic book? How would you do your own comic book shared universe? I've had several ideas for comic books. I never really went around to doing them, but you know that's a loaded question mark. Dave, if Apple buys Sony, Marvel gets Spidey back. Well, I hope that happens then. Apple buys Sony, please. Whatever results in Spider-Man going back to the MCU, and I want it to be permanent. By the way, none of this garbage happening again. Okay, so back onto the Mary Jane. Now, here's the bigger issue that we want to discuss, though, because there are some people out there who have a bigger political, social agenda when it comes to this Mary Jane issue, and that's killing her off. Some people are claiming is an example of fridging, making her a woman in a refrigerator. So that's what a lot of people are criticizing right now. Yeah, they're saying that this might be J.J. Abrams being a sexist or being a bad writer or being politically incorrect. How could he utilize Mary Jane as the victim to just propel the male character protagonist agenda forward? How dare they? How they do? That's another example of fridging. Now, I covered women in refrigerator in an episode of Critical Mass. And while I don't like the practice per se, in general, though, talking about this specifically, go watch that episode to hear my bigger thoughts on women in refrigerator. But let's talk about this specific issue right now, Mary Jane. You guys angry, but King. We'll talk about that wrestling and the wrestling. Don't worry, it's coming about. Oh no, and Ross Sanders not that time. The Mary Jane, another time. The specific issue is that having Spider-Man be a single father to his son that he had with Mary Jane after Mary Jane tragically was murdered, propels his life in a new direction. Where, yeah, in Spider-Man Reign, the thing that happened with Mary Jane, the awkward thing that happened, which I don't have a problem with. I know a lot of people thought that was awful, and it is disturbing, but I thought it was an interesting idea. You're like, okay, scientifically, there might be some weight to that. But anyway, the way they utilize Mary Jane is they're saying that the women in refrigerator statement has to do with characters that have no more purpose other than just being there to propel the male protagonist forward. Women who are just there as an excuse for the male hero, to get his revenge or find justice or whatever like that, and their lives are cut short simply because of that. So if you follow this channel enough, I think you might know several things I'm going to say. Number one, first and foremost, we got to get this out of the way. And again, if you haven't seen the episode of Critical Mass, please do check it out. But number one, we got to get this out of the way. Fictional characters! These people are not real! It's one thing that really drives me crazy. It's a major pet peeve of mine, is when people talk about these characters and their lives as if they were actual freaking people. Mary Jane's not a real person. She's a fictional, fake character. Fictional. All right, I get this. I've heard this a lot when, if you guys remember Jurassic World, that British nanny character, that British assistant lady who gets eaten by the dinosaurs at the end. A lot of people are like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe she was a little absent-minded, but I don't know if she deserved to die. First of all, people die in real life all the time that don't deserve to die. It's kind of how life works. Second of all, when it comes to that, it's like, what she has to deserve to in order for it to happen. And even if she did or didn't, it doesn't matter because she's not real. She's a fake character. It could happen at any moment in time. Who cares? Who cares? Like, what difference does it make? And some people, so that's what drives me crazy about it. It doesn't matter. She's not a real person. She has no more value other than what's on the script. And if you have a fictional character whose purpose is just there to propel the male protagonist story forward, Oh well, it's not like her life had any real purpose. She's a fake character. And let's also not forget, as I mentioned in a Critical Mass episode, this also extends to male characters. What about the character of Jensen? What about the character of Dr. Erskine from Captain America? Jensen from Iron Man, in case you don't remember. These characters, pretty much the same thing. They only existed to propel the plot forward for the main character, which is actually the point of almost every character, other than really microscopic characters don't matter. All characters in fiction usually work to somehow move the plot along, or to purpose the plot, or to serve the main character. That's kind of what fictional characters do. So complaining that Mary Jane being killed off in this alternate non-continuity story, issue number 1, is an example of fridging, is, first of all, it's wrong because, A, as the person who created the concept of fridging, women in the refrigerator, as the person who who came up with that definition and term says, it doesn't apply to characters that are nuanced. And historically, Mary Jane is, of course, a nuanced character. There's a lot of nuance there. She has served a lot of things outside of that. She has had her own personal story arcs. She has gone on to have her own agendas, her own goals, to see her own fulfillment. She is definitely a nuanced character. She is not a woman in a refrigerator. She doesn't qualify. And if you want to specify and signify it for only this issue, okay, maybe this alternate version of Mary Jane is a woman in a refrigerator, but who cares? She's fake. Let's go back into this. Let's go back in the chat, see what everybody else is saying. Yes, Ross Sanders, definitely spoilers. Okay, Arthur Pryor says, I don't buy comics, as you know, but I prefer digital if I did. And that makes sense. I just can't see spending all that money on something that you know you're going to throw. Well, I mean, I don't throw them away, but yeah. Who has room to collect them? I try to force myself to find room, or all of the above. How dare you choose Sinister Tell? I think Joe Quesada had and for Mary Jane. I do think Joe Quesada is not the biggest fan of Mary Jane, but truth be told, I'm not personally the biggest fan of her either. I don't dislike her, but she's like on my number 3 list of my Spider-Man love interests. Gwen Stacy all the way, number 1 for me. I'm a Gwen Stacy guy for that. Even though back in the day, it's funny, I've done a video talking about this too, but things were in the reverse. People used to like Mary Jane significantly more than Gwen Stacy, and that's why things happened the way they did. But now people have kind of galvanized Gwen in the time passing. And I'm one of them. I'm guilty of it. Dave, imagine if someone called you sexist because of your favorite character, wrestling's, etc., are male. Yeah, in today's day and age, there's always a chance you're accused of something. Say that at 3 about 2 people you know I'm talking about. Truth Stinners, how dare you like me? There's a chance that happens, Dave. I don't think so, Vinny Montana, but maybe. Troubled thoughts, Aunt May as Peter's mother, Dave. I don't particularly like the issue of Aunt May being Spider-Man's secret mom. It's one of those things that makes you nod your head, and then I was like, man, okay, because it gives them blood relation, because they're not really blood related. However, I don't like it. It's kind of stupid. It initially makes you just go, huh, for a second. That was my reaction, but overall, no. Dave, you were right about that. Yeah, and I really wish more people understood that these are fictional characters and they're not real. I had enough of people talking about their lives. I hadn't, like, I just talked about this for the Fat Thor episode. I really don't like how people obsess over the feelings and goals and life purposes of fake characters. What does it do for a story? What does it do for a script? Stop taking it so seriously. Stop hurting and sympathizing with fake characters. Get your mind right with real people, because real people in real life matter more than anything else. And stop worrying and caring about the presidents or the sexes, or how dare you use this kill off a character just for another character's purpose, just for a story. It's a fictional character. She means nothing. She doesn't have feelings. She's not real. Okay, Dave, have you seen the leaked Nightwing suit from the live-action Titans show? I have not. Mary Jane probably gotten a Venom suit before. I'm a Mary Jane man for life. And that's cool. That's cool. I don't dislike her, but she's just not my favorite. Number 1 is, like I said, Gwen Stacy by far and away, no questions asked. Number 2, it's controversial, but Felicia Hardy. I don't know why that took a while to get out, but Felicia Hardy, Black Cat. I know in the comic books it's not so obvious, but the major reason why I'm a big Black Cat or Felicia Hardy and Spider-Man and Peter Parker fan is because of the 90s cartoon where Felicia Hardy kind of played the Gwen Stacy role. She was definitely different from Gwen Stacy, but she was more Gwen Stacy-esque. So that's how much I like Gwen Stacy. that if you kind of, sort of, almost fit into that Gwen Stacy role in a 90s cartoon in one series, I kind of put you above Mary Jane just because of how much I like Gwen Stacy. So there was that. So that's there. And then Mary Jane would be number 3 for me, who I think. Will Morbius be a good film, Dave? I can't see how it would be. Maybe. I don't know. It's Sony. Like, I have no real hope for this one. It's like, with Sony now, it's like, I'll believe it when I see it. Reminds me, when do you do an honest promo? Yeah. Don't worry. I intend to start working on things. I mean, my schedule is super packed right now, so I am trying to reconvene and figure things out again. But yeah, we post to be entertained by fiction, Dave, not be involved in it. Yes, that is a very good point. Yeah, I had a teacher for theater teacher, and he explained to me, like, you want people to feel that there are things that are real. You want them to feel the fear, feel the emotion, and get invested into the scene, and get engage with it, and get involved in it, or get invested in it. However, let's say you have a woman on the stage in a play, and she's in a burning building. You don't want people believing it's so real that they run up on stage and go, "Well, we got to help her. How come nobody's helping her? This woman's in a fire." There is a level where you want it to be real, but not too real. You need to know where that line is. And I think when we start complaining about, I don't know if this woman deserved to get eaten by dinosaurs in a movie, that's getting too real. When you start complaining, wondering, what happened? What did she? Or, I mentioned this on the Fat Thor episode about, it's like, well, I really hope that girl talked to the police about what happened to her. It's like, she's not real. She didn't talk to the police. You saw what you saw. After the movie stopped running, nothing happened because she's not real. Nobody filmed it, so it didn't happen. You understand that? Not real. They don't have lives that continue after the movie's over. So that's a lot of things. I like Betty Brant too. She's not in my top 3, but I do like Betty. I like a lot of Spider-Man's love interests, so it is a harder game to pick. It's not like Nightwing, where, to me, Nightwing has had plenty of girls. Or better example, Daredevil. He has plenty of women, but it depends on what context. Like in the Netflix show, it's Karen Page all the way. Comic books, it's Elektra all the way. Or Professor Xavier. It depends on what context they're showing you. Like, who's the love of his life. Superman, love of his life, Lois Lane, period. Nightwing, it's so weird because I almost said Nightwing at first as a definitive, but he really doesn't, because I kind of lean towards Starfire, but I know some people are going to say Barbara Gordon, and I hear that argument too. Anyway, RDJ is coming back as Iron Man. Yeah, that is another thing that happens. Apparently, he's going to have a cameo or a role. Not sure how big his role will be, but in the Black Widow movie. Remember Justice for Barb? Yeah, another example. It's purely ridiculous. Purely ridiculous. Fake characters, not real. But again, Justice for Barb, I did bring that up on this episode, on another episode here. I'm tired of the credit into the I'm tired of the credit into the Spider-Verse gets. Does it get over? It was a really good movie. I did like it a lot. But when some people say it's the best, it was like, some people were saying it was the best movie of the year. I'm like, easy. Avengers came out this year. And when some people say it's the best Spider-Man movie of all time, again, that is definitely not true. The 90s cartoon or animated series and Marvel Reborn in the bloody UK, and I should edit myself more because, okay, and have, gotcha. If real life was fiction and Arthur would be a plot hole, sorry. Things are a lot easier to animate. So, but yeah, so that's the controversy going on with this J.J. Abrams book. Some people were pointing this out, and some people were calling J.J. Abrams a sexist as a result too. And now J.J. Abrams has had his brushes with this, because some people were talking about that Alice Eve scene where she appears in her underwear when she's changing with Captain Kirk in Star Trek Into the Darkness. Now, that's an old trope that is done in Hollywood, but some people pointed out that it was sexist because it comes out of left field. There was no purpose for that other than just showing off Alice Eve's body. And I will give you that there was no purpose to that other than that. Yes, that is true. And that is a bad look for some people. But let me point out, and look, I'm not going to accuse or defend J.J. Abrams on being a sexist or not, one way or the other. But in this particular storyline case about the Mary Jane thing, shocking events like this happen all the time, okay? it's like major characters just disappearing or for one reason or another and shock twist. It could be anybody. It could be anything. And this happens in comic books all the time, especially when it's a non-continuity. These things happen. And it's like, so who cares? It's like, are they important? And I also want to point out that J.J. Abrams is the reason why we have Rey in the new Star Wars franchise, the new trilogy. So there's that. So, I don't know. But personally, I just think people were complaining about about J.J. Abrams' decision for Mary Jane in this. It's not continuity. If it was main continuity, that'd be one thing. I would be way more concerned about it. I'd be more upset about it because and the reason why, while I just got on my rant about fictional characters, is that if you take away a major character by killing them off, even though they're comic books and they could always come back, you do take the legs out from the direction that everything was going for fan enjoyment. And I'm a big supporter of fan enjoyment, real people, and also the narrative of where you're going and future writers what they're going to do. It's like, yeah, sure, that'd be great if you could tell this story or that story, but oh no, somebody wanted to shockingly get rid of this character. I think comic books, for the most part, have to maintain a status quo. I think we need to have a baseline cast of characters, for the most part, that stay immortal around forever. TV shows, movies, characters age, real people age, and you have to switch them in and out, but comic books are forever going. Yeah, comic books, they get rid of people and they bring them back all the time. I don't particularly like that practice. I'd rather they just not go away at all. Like Moira McTaggart's back, and while her reintroduction is great and all, I kind of wish she never went away in the first place because I think she's a mainstay, important character in the X-Men universe. And I don't even and I love the story right now, but I don't necessarily wanted her to be a mutant. I actually like that she was not a mutant. Therefore, it gave Professor X a tie to a non-mutant character. Story and great story and politics afterwards or not even. I like a lot of times that the political themes just kind of reveal themselves even when they're not supposed to. And I think that's kind of the best thing when you're just kind of writing something and they come out. I'll think more about John Cena when I see more of it. Right now it's like, okay, he's there. He wouldn't be my first choice for the character, but I would rather Cena play another character, but there it is. Peter David. Turn around. Why? There's something back there. On Brie Larson. She's okay. I mean, I really liked her in Community. That's where I was first first saw her. So I like her. Would she be? And after winning an Oscar, I like Oscar winners being superheroes. I don't know if they're doing the best with the Captain Marvel character, but I got no problem with her specifically. But all right, so that's going to wrap it up for the Dave Knows Comic Book episode. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for being here. Don't worry, we are going to be switching over to the wrestling live stream very shortly. So going to be going over there in a little bit, and I hope to see you there. And as always, Dave knows.